Well, I really wanted to thank Stan for agreeing to this interview process. You know, Stan, in a lot of interviews, like when Oprah and Charlie Rose and Barbara Walters do an interview, you have to wait for a lot of questions and answers to get the big reveal. So I thought I would do the big reveal before we even start. I don't want you having to sit on the edge of your seats waiting for this big reveal, so we're just going to start out with it. I have knowledge from a very reliable source that Stan Bushman has an avocation which I would think 99% of you could not guess. Stan Bushman was a Golden Glove boxer. Is this true? A simple yes or no will suffice.
Yes.
Okay, it's true. I also have information that I think 99% of the people here do know. You have superpowers. One is you're an extraordinary listener. Two, you need little or no sleep. Three, you're a human search engine, a human Google. Ask a question, you will find the answer. I'm going to give you a personal illustration, just happened this week. I was at a Truman Library meeting, and Clifton Daniel, the grandson of President Truman, was speaking how he's newly on the board of the Truman Scholars Foundation in Washington, D.C. And I said, oh, I just saw you on C-SPAN 3. And he goes, what were you doing watching C-SPAN 3? Well, to illustrate this fact, I said, my good friend Stan Bushman told me about it. You're a good listener. You know I like all things Truman. You sent me an email at 4 in the morning saying that I think you might find this interesting, and you stayed awake watching C-SPAN 3 at 4 in the morning. And 3, you find answers to everything. Before you make a decision, you read, you study, you make educated decisions. I would call you a thoughtful philanthropist. So we'll start there. But Stan, do you want to hear a joke first?
Lead off, Marilyn.
Okay. A priest, a minister, and a rabbi were discussing what they would like people to say after they die and their bodies are being prepared for burial. Priest said, I would like someone to say he was a righteous man, an honest man, and very generous. The minister said, I would like someone to say he was very kind and fair, and he was good to his parishioners. The rabbi said, I would want someone to say, look, he's moving. Everyone here is all about hope and optimism and living generously. Your planned gifts, everybody here, are an affirmation about all that is good today and all that is good for many tomorrows to come. Stan, there are many people here tonight who are leaving a legacy to a variety of organizations and congregations. Tell us, what is your concept of a legacy?
Well, of course, a legacy means giving back. And to me, that's what life is about. Each one of us in our own way. When I look, what can I do? And I'm always looking for new ideas. And if you, as Marilyn said, if you listen to people, you come up with new ideas. And especially when they're creative, and it makes a difference for everybody. So legacy, to me, just means giving back. That's in simple terms.
So there's a personal legacy, a business legacy, a family legacy, a charitable legacy. All of these things make up the individual. What we leave behind is our name. How would you want your name remembered?
Well, hopefully not spoken in vain. and hopefully that what I've done in life hasn't been in vain. Of course, all this could not have happened without each one of you out there. And if you stop and think about it, each one of you, among you, there's leaders, some that have done some things already and some that haven't. And if you were to step up and say, hey, it's my time. It's time for me to get up and do something. Just think what you could do, what that would do for this community.
It's hard to believe that it was nearly 10 years ago that we took that fateful trip to San Diego. The Lauren Hoops arranged so we could see a model program that she thought might catch on in Kansas City. Tell us about that experience and how it came to have such an incredible impact for our community.
Well, can you imagine? I get a call that 3 women would like to go to San Diego with me. And told some of my friends, and they said, God, you're going out with 3 women? And I said, yeah, 3 great women. Ellen Court, Lauren Hoops, and Marilyn Birnbaum. And I said, hey, I know what you guys are thinking. And I said, you're thinking about the big S word. But I said, it's not sex, this is about security. I said, this is security for the whole community. And what we saw out there, we thought we could bring back and tailor it to our own ways and make a success of it.
How did you envision this program benefiting the Kansas City Jewish community?
Well, what does endowment really mean? Endowment really sets a foundation under the community. And when I think that there were 18 institutions involved in this program, and we set a high standard to begin with. So not every institution was immediately in the program because there were incentives that were given if they met certain parameters. And it took a while for the 18 to all be there. So what we accomplished by setting high standards really made a difference.
Why did you entrust the Jewish Community Foundation with your generous support for this effort?
Well, that's easy. Always has been easy. I was, number one, honored to be on the board many, many, many years ago. And then eventually, then I became head of the investment committee, and then eventually president of the organization, and now a life trustee. So it's like my whole life has been there. And so I see what has gone on, what continues to go on. I see the caliber of the people on the board, which are the top leaders in the community. With that in mind, knowing that when you have good leaders, you always get good leaders in turn. So I have full confidence. I mean, that's why I got involved with this program to begin with the Jewish Community Foundation. I have full confidence that what I will be leaving to the Jewish Community Foundation will be monitored and carefully looked at and done, as we always like to say, with donors' intent. Barnett Hellsberg's always given me books on donors' intent. He says, because so many times that doesn't happen right. But I have full confidence with the Jewish Community Foundation that donors' intent will always be looked at, always adhered to.
And one of the things about the Jewish Community Foundation that has been so wonderful is the idea of trust. The trust in the professionals and the trust in the relationships that are formed at every juncture. When you look out at the faces out here, there's a trust that we're going to be doing something better together, and that's been very exciting. You've made a lot of investments throughout your lifetime. How does this one rank?
Well, I think this is the best investment I ever made in my life. For every dollar I put in, there's, at this point, it's been a return of 50 times every dollar. Has anybody out here, Seymour, I don't think you've done better than that. It's unbelievable what this community has done and how they've turned out. And to me, this is just the start. This could easily be $100 million. You know, when you stop and think about it, let's say you're at an event or you're at a party, and you're always saying, well, what's new? And you say, well, you know, I just did a great thing, and I really feel good about it. I made an endowment, and people will maybe listen to you if they're friends. They'll understand what you're saying. So I think that you just can't miss. I mean, it just makes sense to look. Every one of you is an ambassador. Look at yourself as an ambassador and a leader to make this even more so.
Stan, I think a lot of a big reason why this succeeded was not only the wonderful staff, but you made a personal investment of time. You were at every board meeting. When every board met their goal, you were there. And you often told the story about the ripple effect. Can you tell us a little bit about that story that you like to tell to inspire people to move on, keep on moving?
Well, you know, I want to read one thing that I wrote down because it was kind of really says what the vision got me started all of this. And this was 5 keys to meet the challenge of philanthropy. And this was done by Michael Milligan, who was an investment banker with Drexel, who was a junk bond king, very bright man. And he put down 5 things. He said, follow your passion, get personally involved, think big, foster teamwork, and transfer skills, not just money. All those really says what we tried to do with BCE, and what really got me, besides Marilyn and Lauren and Ellen, that got me hooked on this program, which I was so happy to do. Those were the things that were important and why it makes sense.
Those are 5 great things. I think we need to laminate those and put them in our pockets. As a community, we now stand with over $40 million in commitments that we did not have 9 years ago. Now we have a responsibility not only to those who have made gifts, but all those who will follow. How do we as a community make it clear that we need and value these gifts and that we are extraordinarily grateful? What are the next steps?
Boy, you know, I'll probably get redundant because I keep repeating about having everybody involved and everybody realizing what they're leaving for their kids and grandkids and what they're doing for themselves. And, you know, it kind of makes me stop and wonder when you read about the reason people give. And there was a remark with this election that's now about to take place in November, and some comments have been made, well, the tax laws are changed, would people still give? And a lot of the answers have been no. They think charitable causes are going to be really affected. So I guess each one of us has to kind of look into our hearts and say, hey, it's nice that I can deduct. It's nice that I have a little bit more to leave this way. But when comes November and we see what happens in the preceding years and what changes take place, are we still going to be as charitable? And hopefully we are, because the things that are important to us in life, that's when it will really tell.
So I guess it's up to all of us to be stewards and express our gratitude. And also this all goes back to that our name is a reflection of our values, and this is just one way to put those values in light. So in fact, this celebration and this event is not an end, but a beginning to an effort that must continue from one generation to the next. How does it make you feel to see so many people here tonight who share your vision of creating a stronger future for our community?
Well, I can't believe you're really turning out. I saw Blanche Sosson when we first walked in, and she says, God, how'd they get you to do this? and she said, we came back from Chatham just to be here for this. Well, that says a lot. And when people come up to me and said they're here for a reason, and they're here not just for me and for Marilyn, they're here for the whole community. So each one sees what somebody else does. And I remember a long time ago, didn't want to put my name on things that I was donating to, and then people would say, that's the wrong attitude. You should have your name out there. They should see what you're giving, because that in turn may cause other people that you know to give. So I think it is important. Yeah.
Wonderful. Stan, I thank you very much. We're going to step over to the podium. And we have
one thing more.
Oh, okay.
I just thought of this. In the video, it shows Stan Lewis. And Stan Lewis was a great artist. But he and his family were involved in the funeral business, and had been involved in the funeral business for years and years, even going back to my mother. I remember she used to talk about parties of the funeral home, and the Lewis family was involved even then in my mother's time. And I called Stan Lewis. I said, I'd like to buy the Lewis Funeral Home. And he said, you are absolutely crazy. He says, why would you want to buy it? And I said, well, it should be around for the Jewish community, and I don't know what will happen after you're gone. And he said, I will not sell it to you. He said, I think it's great what you want to do. And we started talking about philanthropy, and we talked and talked. And he said, even with all the talk, Stan, you haven't changed my mind. He said, my wife is going to look after it. And then after seeing this video and knowing the gift she made to the community that went to the Jewish Community Foundation to administer, maybe, I like to think in my own mind anyway, that our conversation had something to do with that gift that she made. So you never know what takes place when you're talking about something. And I hope that everybody here, if you got some creative ideas, that you will go up and tell Gary Cortez, who's now leading and helping in the Legacy Committee, that you'll tell Gary what your ideas are, because you never know. It might really lead to something big.
Wonderful. Stan, this has been wonderful, and it's always a joy having any conversation with you. The Krista Lewis chapter is another beautiful chapter in our community story. We're going to hear some more of those chapters. There's a lot that enriches us all, but for your efforts and your commitment, we will be eternally grateful. Thank you.
Okay. One quick thing. I've been thanked, and I really appreciate it. But I just want to say there's some other people here that ought to be thanked. One is Diana Zorsky, who first worked on this, Lauren Hoops, who has shepherded this, and of course, my buddy, my good friend, Marilyn. Let me tell you, there were 18 institutions involved in this, and every board meeting she showed up for. In one board meeting at B'nai Yehuda, I made a remark after Marilyn had made a speech and introduced me, and I made a remark at B'nai Yehuda. I said, God, I said, just happened to think, when I was going to Sunday school at Beth Shalom, George Lieberman and I used to cut class, and we'd go a few blocks over to the temple. And the reason we went there is because the girls were better looking at the temple. And with that, Howard Mayer popped up and said, they still are.
Okay, we always learn something new from you. Okay, we're going to step over here for a minute. Stan, come on over. We have a little something for you, an appreciation. In Proverbs, it says, a good name is more desirable than great riches, a good reputation than silver and gold. Stan, your name is our treasure. Your commitment is our inspiration. Your vision is our guiding star. Thank you for all you do and for all you are. As a small token of our appreciation, the Foundation would like to present you with this kaleidoscope. I know you've been wanting a kaleidoscope. Henry Ward Beecher said, our days are a kaleidoscope. Every instant a change takes place in the contents. New harmonies, new contrasts, new combinations of every sort. Stan, you have placed a kaleidoscope of opportunity into each of our hands. Everyone gathered here represents a kaleidoscope of experiences that, when viewed through different lenses, can color and change how we see our present, and more importantly, how we see our future. Again, we are so grateful. I love you, and here's your present.